Upon arrival in Indian Territory after the Trail of Tears, the Cherokee Nation found itself divided politically and socially. With European settlers intruding further west, tribal leaders knew they needed to prepare their people to withstand the challenges ahead. In this Cherokee Almanac, we look at the Cherokee Public Schools Act and how our tribe was strengthened and united through education. After our tribe's forced removal to new lands in Indian Territory, Cherokee leaders sought ways to establish sovereignty and to protect Cherokee identity.
In the post-removal moment, the Cherokee Nation is torn apart, and there's also three kind of distinct political parties, so to speak. And we need to remember that those three political bodies have to be unified. And that's easier said than done.
In the face of deep political and social division, one thing most Cherokees could agree on was that education was essential to strengthening and uniting our people. In 1841, the Cherokee National Council passed the Public Schools Act, creating an extensive public school system for Cherokees of all ages. Cherokee leaders reasoned that producing our own teachers, political leaders, and businessmen would best ward off the influences of American colonialism and fortify the Cherokee Nation amidst a vastly changing world.
We started out with 8 districts, and the idea there was to have a school in each district. And it was up to the district and whoever was sort of in charge of that district to set themselves up a superintendent of the school, to raise money for that school, to make sure that that school was stocked with supplies and books and had a teacher.
Prior to 1841, virtually all aspects of Cherokee education were controlled by missionaries from various denominational backgrounds. The passage of the Public Schools Act took the first steps toward removing missionary influence and reclaiming the education of our own people.
Missionaries are more than happy to step in to provide English literacy. Well, that's not necessarily what all Cherokee people are interested in. Some are, but many aren't. And so Cherokee people have kind of long said we want a certain kind of education in order to provide the futures that our children need.
Despite the new Cherokee-run public school system, locating Cherokee teachers proved difficult.
Most of the teachers were white. They were not Cherokee speakers, and I think we wanted to be able to have school that was going on in our own language and that maybe addressed to some extent some of our culture. And the idea was to have schools that were for Cherokees, run by Cherokees.
In order to meet the demand for Cherokee teachers and other skilled professionals, the Cherokee Nation established both the male and female seminaries in 1847, less than a decade after forced removal.
The Cherokee Public School Act is absolutely a success. What we have is Native nations bringing the concept of universal public education to a region of the U.S. Much earlier than it probably would have arrived had removal not taken place.
The thought was that, if every Cherokee can have that kind of education and that kind of chance, we're going to be able to hold our own.